It's 3:30, and I want to go ahead and convene this meeting of our newly established task force. So, Mr. Johnson, would you call the roll?
Councilman Fugit.
Here.
Councilman Helsley. Here. Dr. Lyons.
Here.
Mr. Pavlis.
Here.
Wasn't sure what to call you.
Former Mr. He's still a Mr., but he's a
Yeah.
former vice mayor.
Councilwoman Parker. Mr. Saunders. Vice Mayor Smith.
Here.
There are 5 members present.
Thank you. That'll roll off the tongue better next time.
Yes.
Thank you. We have no minutes to approve, so we will skip that. And then the discussion and adoption of the policy relating to a period for public comments as required by TCA 8-44-112 is the public comment section that the public comment period that this task force will use. And what was sent out to you is the public comment procedures that have been adopted by the audit committee, just as an example of what a subcommittee of the board, or of council, uses. So you've received those. Any comments,
No, just to say that I've been on the audit committee for a couple of years. I'm not on there now, but we had members of the public come join us and speak and listen.
Yeah.
And this seems to make sense.
Okay. Without objection, are we going, they are approved then? Nobody objected, so offered no changes. So now we will move into the public comments section of this meeting with the rules that we just adopted.
The first speaker is Constance Every.
Okay. Ms. Every, you're the first speaker. Yes, and did you see the rules? It's 2 minutes.
No, I haven't seen the new rules, which
Okay.
is a concern I was going to highlight, is that right now publicly we are not aware of the actual new rules. So I'm going to challenge the council and the city government to do that, make it public so we can see it.
It was a part of the agenda items.
Okay, then I guess we'll just have to dig it up. We'll find it,
Well,
but more transparency to that.
there they are.
There it is, okay, on the board. Yeah, okay, so that's what we have. Okay, cool. All right, so 2 minutes is what you're giving me. Constance Every, 379-14, Knoxville, Tennessee. I think the concern that we have with the public forum is something that's been going on for some time now. What I want to highlight is that public forum really wasn't an issue until Kincannon became mayor. If you look at Madam O'Hara's administration, Haslam administrations, several of the previous mayor's administrations, public forum was never an issue. We didn't see this issue come up until Andy Kincannon's administration, and then the last 2 administrations at that. I think the concern is that this is the time that even in the federal government, even in DC, there's a space for public voice and public input. And it is a concern, right? It's something that you're supposed to do as an elected member. You are the people who ask us, the taxpayers and voters, to give you your seat. But that doesn't mean that it stops just there. As we already know, you can still hear from your constituents through emails, private meetings, or public meetings, committee meetings, whatever you want to name it as. There are definitely ways for us to interact. But when we come to these meetings, this is where we're really dealing with directly city business, our tax dollars, and how those things are being administered. And so this is not a like or dislike contest as much as it is feedback is what this is really supposed to be about. And so I do get concerned when I see rules being engaged to reduce time, to reduce people that sign up to speak, whether it's up or down, for or against, whatever it may be. The point is that this is the public's opportunity to tell you who asked me for my vote during your campaign to come back and say, I agree with the policies and the way you're operating, or I don't, or I have an indifference. Maybe I agree with some things and other things I cannot agree with. But the point is that you should not be shutting out people's voices. And we're seeing a practicality of shutting out people's voices. I mean, we have a constitution that says freedom of speech. So where are you riding your line of freedom of speech when you practice these type of behaviors in the meeting? And let's not forget, yes, state legislature passed some policies that go to the elected members, but that doesn't impose onto the public, nor our comments, nor our feedback. And more importantly, again, what is the real role here? Sometimes we don't even see y'all follow y'all own rules in the meetings. And that is a concern too. I know I'm out of time, but let me finish this thought. I have came to these meetings and seen where you are not following your own rules, but you want to enforce the rules. And so that's called selective enforcement, which is a concern too. And so that's what I want to highlight. As the elected members, particularly on this council, because Library is an elected member, for the elected people particularly, that is your job. It's not just to pass policy. It's not just cut budget. It is to stay in tune with your taxpayers and your voters and your constituents constantly to hear the feedback of how we want a greater Knoxville together. And I
Thank
yield
you.
right there.
Thank you. Is there anyone else?
Mr. Holquist.
Mr. Holquist, you signed up to speak.
Because there was no procedure laid out before the beginning of this meeting, I thought it prudent to just call and say, I might have something to say. But given the format, if you want input at the first before you have any discussion and there's anything to talk about, I don't think I have anything to say. I came thinking, I might speak to something that I heard during the meeting. But if the meeting structure doesn't allow that, then obviously I won't. But I would enjoy the opportunity as a former council member to be able to speak into issues if I thought I had actually something to add to the discussion. So that's where I'll leave it.
Thank you. Hopefully, our discussion today will alleviate some of the concerns. This is just an organizational meeting. We have not spoken outside of this. This was passed 2 weeks ago and said, let's get the task force together. You have to have an agenda. We have to do the public forum piece. That's what we've done. Now I'd like to move into how we're going to do our work, and maybe that will help explain some of this, and we can have some discussion about that. We don't have officers or subcommittees, so there's no report.
Yours, if you want to.
Oh, I guess mine. This is where Will says I should go ahead and tell you kind of what I was thinking about doing. So here is a thought on how this can work. So we have been tasked to look at city council rules, because we have talked about at city council retreat for the last couple of years, taking a deep look at our city council rules. And we have also talked about, should we put a process in place for a regular charter review process? So that's what we'll be working on. My thought is that we would work on city council rules first. We have 9 months to get this done, correct?
According to the resolution.
Yes, according to the resolution. And that we should work on one part of that first, committee, council rules first, complete that, and then move to a discussion of how we might want to establish a charter review process. My thought then was that at the meeting today, I would ask council members to take a look at the council rules that Will sent us out, which are the council rules, and spend the next month reading those, talking to people, talking to former council members, talking to other folks. I will ask Mr. Johnson what rules he thinks we might need to look at, because he's lived through lots of council meetings and kind of knows what works. And see which ones we think actually we need to discuss. Get some feedback on that. There are lots of rules. Some of them we may all read and go, we don't need to go line item by line item. This is Lynn's proposal. You don't want to do it this way, that's fine. I'm just trying to start some discussion of a way maybe to do this. So that we would have a month to gather some of that. And in February, meet again and talk about which are the items that we think need discussion and research and some other things about how we might want to change them. And gather feedback about that in the month of February and begin in March maybe to really start fine tuning the rules. I don't know how long that'll take. Also know that we have the ability to work with MTAS. They know about this, to maybe research other council rules or rules of other elected bodies in the state for us. And the Civic Institute, I don't think I'm going to say the right name for it, but shorthand for me, it's the Baker Center. But it's really the institute that actually works with good governance can also help us with researching best practices and the way maybe things are done in other places outside of Tennessee, just so we have lots of available to us to make some good decisions about how we want to do things for our city council meetings. You know, council rules are how council wants to do its business. And council has made rules that supersede Robert's rules. So whatever council rules we make or we have, if they, according to our parliamentarian, our city recorder, I mean, I verified this, that council rules, if they are in conflict with Robert's rules, council rules supersede Robert's rules. So I think there's been some confusion in our council rules about that, and so we just need to take a look at that too. When we get done with that work, I would like us to move to a discussion about charter review and do the same sort of thing. MTAS can help with research, the Civic Institute can help with research, and we can come up with a process. If we come up with a process that we agree to, we take that before City Council, and our council members may decide to take it or leave it, but we will offer them a proposal that this committee thinks would work. That's sort of how I see it flowing. Now, I'll open the floor for anybody got any other thoughts about that. Dr. Lyons.
Yeah, I would say we can help with an intern if the task force so desires, just to do research on what's done elsewhere, including not just in the state, but elsewhere as well.
That'd be nice.
You know, just be kind of a research, make that kind of research capacity available.
Thank you.
If the task force would like.
Thanks. Any thoughts? Ms. Parker? I don't know how to read this, so I'll practice. Oh, right there. I'm just going to look left and look right. How about that?
I appreciate it. Thank you, Chair. My apologies for running a little late today. I did miss the discussion on the adoption of our own rules concerning public comment. And I was hoping that discussion would go a little bit longer. I know it seems like something that's just, we just need to get something on the books to be able to run our meetings. But it's an opportunity, and I hope that this process is an opportunity for us, similar to what you mentioned, Chair, to be able to review and to be reminded of what constraints there might be by state or federal law. And when it comes to the public forum piece, I know that's been one of our rules that's captured a lot of attention by the public. And so, I began looking to see what were some guiding principles behind this. And I think those are important things to discuss anytime we're adopting a rule or discussing a rule. First Amendment concerns that have been brought up for our public forum even, especially since we're probably not anticipating a large crowd at our meetings, if we're at 3:30 in the afternoon. It's an opportunity for us to explore, to test out some public forum rules that are a little looser and might offer a space for more of an exchange with the public than what we've grown accustomed to. And I was looking at the county commission's, rules, and they allow commissioners to question members at public forum. And so bringing that into the discussion whenever we are setting rules is something that I hope we're able to do during all this process.
Great, thank you. Anyone else? Any thoughts on the pace of work or what I just laid out for us to do the next couple of months? Vice Mayor Smith.
As someone who helped craft the resolution and tried to balance these two different things but similar, it's very hard, and I think I like the approach of separating them sequentially as opposed to splitting our brains in half each meeting. So I like the approach of trying to handle the rules first and then moving on to the charter second. So
Thank you.
I like that.
I appreciate that, and I like to concentrate on one thing. Anybody else? You good?
No, but I think that's sound. I
Okay.
think, yeah, I can't do many things at one time, and they're both.
Okay. All right, well, then, Mr. Johnson will make sure that every current member of city council also gets all of our rules and is given the opportunity to review them for the month and send any rules that they would like to lift up for us to explore to Mr. Johnson. And then I have also, I am publicly asking Mr. Johnson to also lift up any rules that he thinks might help us with the, or that over his years he's seen may have been, caused some difficulty or people had questions about or things like that in the good functioning of our meetings. And then I would ask the former council members, Mr. Pavlis and Mr. Saunders, to convene with former council colleagues and get their opinions as well. I think that would be helpful. In an informal way, and of course, people, anybody can send something in an email form to any of us that they'd like us to consider, but that would at least be some intentional outreach to people who've been in these meetings before and seen things that some of us haven't seen, which was the intent to have former council vice mayors on this committee. And then ask Dr. Lyons also, his help can be, having served the mayor's office for several administrations, take a look with that lens as well, in addition to his help at the Baker Center. So that's what we will do next. So I guess the next thing that we need to discuss is the meeting frequency and when. We set this one initially because it was a day that we were all going to have to be here anyway for beer board and city council meeting. And then we had a room.
Do you mind if I?
Oh, no, go ahead.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm trying to wait until you call on me. I don't
No,
want to just
I
interrupt.
appreciate that.
But just in addition to the list you came up with, and perhaps, Will, you can tell me if this is unreasonable, but in addition to sharing the rules, can we also get any constraining laws?
That would be something that we could ask the Baker Center to look into for us.
It would be helpful to know as we're reviewing them, that we can't propose certain things around public forum because of, court rulings along these lines.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, and that's good. That'll be good. Yes.
I believe earlier you outlined that we will, in the next meeting, bring together rules that we think we should address. Not
Yes.
necessarily recommendations, but rules that we should
Yes,
address.
rules that we should address.
And that we're going to rely on MTAS and the Baker Center for a research report. I think
Right.
that would be a good place for Councilman Parker's comments of, if we ask those two resources to look at these 7 things, please also include whatever limitations there are in state law associated with those 7 things.
Yeah.
As opposed to just a what are the guardrails? Let's apply them to the ones we're going to discuss.
Right, you're
Okay.
talking about any legal constraints or legislative constraints or on either side, that limit the degree to which comment can be limited or otherwise.
Yes.
That it would apply here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Returning to the frequency.
Yes, thank you. So back to the frequency of how often you want to meet. The reason, you know, we may have to change it up. I mean, you know, we've never done this, so we don't know. But Will and I kind of picked this date because we had the room and we had beer board and then we had city council and we were going to be here. If this does not work for people, of course, we all most seem to be here, and Mr. Saunders is now here. Yay! Yay! Oh, no, that's fine. Well, you had 2 weeks' notice. I'm just, of course. Thank you. Finbar, Mr. Saunders, this is good that you can be here because we're about to discuss the frequency with which we meet and when. So, how do y'all feel about keeping this 3:30 the day of beer board and council, just because we already have a room and most of us already have that afternoon on our calendar as being engaged in city business? Will that work? Unless somebody has an absolute raging.
I'm good with that. I was just aggravating you about 3 meetings in one day. I'm fine.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes, 3 meetings in one day is a lot, but, all right.
The 18th.
So the next one would be February 18th. And if we all agree to that, then Mr. Johnson can send us
Full schedule.
a full schedule from now till our 9 months is up. And then if at some point we feel like we need to hasten our pace in order to get something done by the deadline, we can amend that. But I think for now, let's just stick with once a month and try to get some of our work done, especially here in the beginning when it's going to be reading, asking for comments, raising up what rules we want to tackle. Anything else? Well, hearing none, for the easiest and fastest meeting of this task force, we are adjourned.